My name is Eliza, and at 18, I learned what I was truly worth to them. They handed my sister a check for her dream school, while I got a pat on the back and an empty envelope. She just has more potential, they said. I can still hear those words echoing like acid in my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled, because I already knew what I was going to do. At graduation, when I stepped up to the podium, their faces went pale. Tell me, what would you have done if your family made you invisible? I didn't expect applause. I expected something. A nod. A smile. Maybe even a whisper of, "We're proud of you." But when the envelope hit my hand, it was light. Too light, and I knew they called my name second, not first. Not last. Just second. Right after Sarah, she got a hug from the principal. A bouquet of flowers from Mom. And that check. With all the zeros. I got a silent smile. And this stupid white envelope. I didn't open it right away. I stood there, under the lights, pretending the weight of it meant something. Pretending I couldn't feel the hollowness inside, but my fingers were shaking, not from nerves or from knowing. I tore it open the second I stepped off the stage. Backstage. Near the curtain. Where nobody was watching, just me. And the silence. Empty. No letter. No card. Not even a post-it note, nothing, just white, just blank, just like I didn't exist. Behind me, the auditorium erupted. Sarah's name again. This time with a standing ovation, and Mom, loud as always, clapping like she just watched her favorite daughter save the world. I turned the envelope upside down and shook it. Twice, still nothing. I felt my stomach tighten, like a fist curling from the inside. I wanted to throw it, tear it, swallow it whole. Instead, I slid it back in my pocket and walked out smiling. Fake. Perfect. Just like always. Outside, the air smelled like cut grass and heat. June. The end of everything. Sarah ran over, glowing like the sun. She held up the check, like a trophy. Full ride, she shouted. Mom and Dad said they wanted to surprise me. She waited for my reaction. I gave her one, the one I always gave. That's amazing. She didn't notice my voice crack. She never noticed much. Or maybe she did, and didn't care. Later that night, in the kitchen, I tried to ask, tried to understand. Hey, I said. Did we both apply for the same scholarship? Dad didn't even look up from his laptop. No. Mom said. We figured Sarah needed the support more. With her debating and everything. But I had the higher GPA. She blinked. So? That one word. So. It hit harder than a slap. I flashed back to every report card I taped to the fridge. Every A+. Every teacher's note. No1 clapped, then no1 cried. No1 noticed. Sarah barged in, already on the phone with Aunt Linda. Bragging. Laughing, her voice echoed through the walls. She got it, I heard Mom say proudly. She earned it. I was still standing in the kitchen. Invisible. Later, in my room. I opened the envelope again. Just to be sure, still nothing, but this time, it felt heavier, like it was filled with everything I wasn't given: recognition. Belief. Love. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the blank paper, then something clicked. A memory. I was 9. Science fair. I built a solar water purifier from scratch. Sarah forgot hers at home. Mine won, she cried. And Mom? She told me not to celebrate so loud. Let your sister have this moment, she'd said. Even then. Even when I won. I wasn't allowed to shine. That night, I stopped pretending. I stopped hoping they'd notice. Something inside me cracked, but something else started to sharpen. I opened my laptop, typed out a new speech. The one I wasn't supposed to give, the one that told the truth. If they wouldn't hand me the mic, I'd take it anyway. Sometimes absence is louder than presence. The laughter felt too loud. Too sharp. Like it was cutting through me. They passed the phone around. One by one. Same photo. Same moment. Same person glowing in the center. Sarah. On stage. Holding her check like a golden ticket. Her head thrown back in that too big, too perfect laugh. I wasn't even in the background, and I was there. I know I was there. I stared at the screen when it landed in my hands. Zoomed in. Searched the corners. Behind the curtain. Near the chairs. Nowhere. I wasn't in it. Not even a shadow. My throat tightened. My chest too. I smiled anyway. Tilted the phone to Mom beside me. She looked so happy, I said. My voice came out softer than I meant. Almost foreign. Mom didn't notice, she was too busy nodding. She earned that moment, she said. Her eyes sparkled like she'd won something too. I took a sip of water. Swallowed wrong, coughed once. Twice. No one looked. I wiped my mouth. Stared at the tablecloth. Little sunflowers stitched into beige. They used to be my favorite. Play the slideshow, Dad said, and my stomach dropped. I didn't know why. But I knew. The TV lit up behind him. Everyone turned. First image, Sarah on her bike, age 6. I was there that day. She fell. Scraped her knee. I ran to her first. I wasn't in the picture. Next slide, her 12th birthday. The pink dress. The backyard party. I had set up the balloons. Lit the candles, not in the photo next, Sarah holding a medal. 7th grade debate. I had proofread her speech. Stayed up with her all night. No trace of me. I pressed my hands into my lap, hard fingernails against skin. Just to feel something. Dad turned around, grinning. Look at that face, he laughed. Always been a star, this one. He raised his glass, everyone followed, even me, but my hand was shaking. To Sarah, Dad said. Our lightning bolt. Mom added, our future leader. Then Dad turned to me, smiled gently. That soft, fatherly smile that never quite reached his eyes, and to Eliza. My heart waited. He paused, she's always been our steady one. Steady. My stomach clenched, our calm. Our sweet girl. Sweet, there it was again, the word that felt like a brick dropped on my chest. Sarah laughed. Clinked glasses with everyone. The toast moved on. So did the photos. So did the conversation. I didn't. My spoon scraped the bottom of my bowl. Even the sound felt like it didn't belong. I excused myself to the hallway. Cooler air. Dimmer light. I leaned against the wall. Closed. My eyes. I wasn't sad. I was blank, just like that envelope, just like every photo, just like me in this house. Eliza? Sarah's voice. I straightened. She stepped out of the dining room, barefoot. Her heels dangled from her fingers. You good? I nodded. Just, head hurts, I said. She leaned against the opposite wall. Like we were kids again. Whispering secrets after bedtime. You seemed kinda off, she said. Tonight, I mean. I stayed quiet. She waited, then added, you know Dad didn't mean anything by the sweet thing. That word again. I hated how gently she said it. Like it was a compliment. I know, I said, but I didn't mean it. She reached out. Touched my arm quick. Light, I think you're amazing, Eliza. You know that, right? I looked at her. Her perfect lashes. Her flawless skin. Her endless belief that love meant not noticing. I wanted to say something. Anything, but my throat closed again. So I smiled again, and she went back inside. I didn't. I went upstairs. To my room. Shut the door. Sat at the edge of my bed, opened my drawer. There it was, the photo. The one I kept, age 6. Me holding my first medal. Science fair. Gap-toothed grin. Sunlight on my cheek. Mom had taken it. Said she'd frame it. She never did. I flipped it over. On the back, in pink ink. You'll have plenty of chances. That was the day I won. And Sarah cried. Because she didn't. That was the day I learned my success had to be quiet. I held the photo to my chest. Pressed it there, tried to feel something again, tried to remember what it felt like to be proud of myself without guilt. Then I stood up, walked to the mirror, and said it out loud, I'm not sweet. The words felt sharp. Real, they cut through. The fog. That night, I opened my journal. Flipped past old poems. Sketches. College lists, found a blank page, wrote 3 words, make them see. That night, I stopped being sweet. I started becoming visible. It wasn't money I wanted. It was acknowledgement. The door was unlocked. That's the only reason I opened it. Dad never leaves it unlocked. His study. His sanctuary. The one room no one enters unless invited. But I wasn't in the mood to follow rules that kept me small, not anymore. I pushed the door open slow. My fingers brushing the edge like it might burn me. The smell hit first. Leather. Old paper. And that cologne he stopped wearing, but the room hadn't forgotten. The curtains were drawn halfway. Just enough sunlight to slice the room in half. One side warm. One side shadowed. I stepped into the shadow. The desk was neat. Too neat. A pen perfectly aligned. A yellow legal pad. A framed photo of Sarah shaking hands with someone in a blazer. That frame used to hold a picture of both of us. Back when we were kids. Before she became the sun and I became the ceiling. I didn't know what I was looking for. Only that something was off. Something had been off for weeks. They said I missed the deadline. That I should have spoken up sooner. That they thought I changed my mind. But I remembered. I printed it. Signed it. Sealed it. I gave it to Dad. I watched him tuck it into his briefcase. I remembered. I opened the bottom drawer, just files. Taxes. Bills, receipts from restaurants I never got invited to. Second drawer. A folder marked, college, Sarah. Another. Travel. And then? Buried under a stack of printer paper, a manila envelope. Unsealed. Slightly bent. My handwriting across the front. Eliza, admissions packet. My breath caught. Like my lungs forgot what to do. I opened it with both hands. Inside, everything. My essays. My transcripts. The stamped return envelope, still. Sealed, still here, never sent. I felt something twist in my ribs. Not anger, not yet. First came disbelief. The kind that makes you double-check reality. I flipped through the pages. Check dates. Initials. Postmarks. No mark. No stamp. No fingerprint of care, just silence, just sabotage. I heard footsteps upstairs. My time was short. I stuffed the envelope into my hoodie pocket. Carefully. Like I was stealing evidence from a crime scene. Because I was at dinner, I watched them, mom twirling spaghetti, dad checking his phone, Sarah rambling about orientation week. I tasted metal. Hey, I said, quietly. Too quiet. No one heard. So I tried again. Hey. They looked up. I looked at dad. Did you ever send in my college packet? He blinked. Of course I did. I didn't blink, I found it. In your drawer. Unsent. Silence, then mom laughed. Too light. Too quick, Eliza, you must have forgotten. You never handed it over. I did. Dad looked between us. Confused. Or pretending. You said you weren't sure, he offered. You didn't seem ready. We didn't want to pressure you. My fork hit the plate. I didn't speak. Didn't scream, because what's the point of screaming when they've already decided you're the quiet one? I looked down, and smiled, just enough. I was serious, I said softly. To you. To both of you. Mom shook her head. Dismissive. Deflecting. We thought it was a phase. A phase, like effort was a costume. Like ambition was a tantrum. I stood up. Not fast. Not slow, just steady. I'm full, I said. Dad started to say something. Stopped. I went back upstairs. Closed the door, locked it, pulled out the envelope again, set it on my bed, stared at it, not like a mistake, like a warning. They didn't forget, they chose not to believe me. Chose not to listen. Chose to shape the world around Sarah and pretend. I didn't want one of my own. I opened my laptop, opened a blank document, typed the first line. This is what it sounds like when silence fights back. Words came fast. Hard. Sharp like teeth, not for college, for something else, for them. They thought I was invisible, they forgot what silence can hold. They gave my future to someone louder. So I built a new voice. One they'd be forced to hear. Love doesn't have to be loud. But it shouldn't be absent. I didn't plan on seeing it. Didn't go looking, but there it was. Pinned dead center of the school bulletin board. Right next to the front office. Where no one could miss it. Trailblazing young leader, Sarah Worthington named Student of the Year. Big headline. Big photo. Big smile, her. Again. I stopped walking. Something in me just froze. My backpack slipped slightly off my shoulder. I didn't adjust it. I stared at the words, voice of her generation. Future Congresswoman. Unshakable. The quote was from Dad. Of course it was behind me. Someone whispered, she's such a rock star. Another voice, I thought. Eliza won something too. Silence, then footsteps. Then nothing. I stepped closer. Not sure why, just to make sure. Just to be absolutely sure. There was no mention of me. No footnote. Not even a line, not even. Her sister Eliza also participated. Even though I didn't participate, I won regionals. My science project was selected for national review. I was invited to speak at the state conference, but Sarah gave one speech at a local rally, and the world clapped. I turned away. Walked fast. Heart thudding. The article stayed behind. But it followed me. In the hallway, I saw Miss Keating, our counselor. She saw me. Paused. Eliza, she said, like she'd been waiting. Her voice was gentle, but it made my eyes sting. She walked over. Held something. A plain blue folder. I have something you should see. Her office smelled like jasmine tea and old carpet. She closed the door softly behind us. Saturday. Gestured for me to sit too. I did. She slid the folder across the desk. This came in weeks ago, she said. I assumed you knew. My fingers hesitated. Then opened it. Inside, acceptance letters. Plural. 4 of them. One from Cornell. Another from University of Chicago. My top choices, all addressed to me. All dated over a month ago. One even had a handwritten note. We are deeply impressed by your project and would love to speak further. I looked up. Ms. Keating didn't blink. I sent the counselor's recommendation myself, she said. I followed up after not hearing anything from your family. My voice cracked. They never showed me these. She nodded. I figured. That's why I printed copies. The originals went to the mailing address on file. My home.my mother's hands. My father's desk.my chest burned. Like someone had struck a match inside me and walked away. All that time. All those late nights. The rewrites. The pressure, and they threw it all in a drawer. Why are you helping me? I asked. It came out more raw than I meant. She smiled softly. When I was your age, I watched my sister win awards I wasn't even allowed to apply for. Because she was louder. Prettier. More expected. She leaned back in her chair. I promised myself if I ever saw it happening again, I wouldn't stay quiet. I wanted to cry. But I didn't. I took the folder. Held it like a life raft. Thank you, I whispered. She reached for my hand. Use your voice, Eliza. Even if it shakes. That night, I sat at my desk. The house was quiet. Sarah was out. Mom was making lemon tea. Dad was already asleep. I opened my laptop, a blank screen, blinking cursor. The only sound was my heart. Then I typed, this is not a thank you speech. Line by line, it came out. Not polished. Not perfect, but true, the nights I stayed up while they forgot to knock. The medals that never got framed. The envelope that stayed sealed. The letters that never made it past the front door. I wrote it like I was carving something out of me. Something sharp. Something buried. It wasn't just a speech. It was a reckoning, because they called her Trailblazer. But I had burned quieter paths, because they said she had a voice, but I'd been speaking for years, they just never bothered to listen. They wrote her story in ink. I started writing mine in fire. I learned to love my reflection in shadows. I didn't mean to find it. Not that night. Not like that. I was just cleaning, sweeping up wrappers. Folding clothes. Trying to distract my brain from the sound of her birthday downstairs. The house was shaking with celebration. But my room? Still. Muted, like it always is when the spotlight lands on Sarah. I grabbed an old shoebox tucked way back in the closet. Shoes weren't inside. I hadn't worn those since 8th grade. Inside, a mess of papers, pins, half-written poems. Stuff I hadn't touched in years. Then I saw a red ribbon wrapped around a dull gold medal. My name etched into it. First place, District Science Fair, 6th grade. I froze. For a second, I felt it again, that moment they called my name. How I turned to look for my parents. And found only empty bleachers. They came late, said traffic. Said they didn't know it was a big deal. But they made it to every one of Sarah's spelling bees. Even the ones she lost. I rubbed my thumb across the medal's edge. It was cold. Dusty, forgotten, like I was supposed to be. I glanced across the room, saw something leaning against the far wall, covered in an old hoodie. I walked over. Pulled it off. It was my childhood mirror, the one with sticker corners and a crack down the side. I hadn't looked into it in years. I sat on the floor, held the mirror in one hand, the medal in the other, and stared, not at the crack. At me. I looked older. Sharper. There was something behind my eyes now, something heavier. But more alive. My hair was frizzy. I had a zit near my jaw, but for once I didn't want to fix it. I thought about Sarah's party downstairs, the cameras, the playlist, the matching cupcakes, all her friends shouting her name like she invented birthdays, and I remembered last year. My birthday, when they forgot the cake. When the power went out and no one noticed. I was sitting in the dark alone in the living room holding a slice of cold pizza. They call me the quiet one. The easy one. The sweet one. But sweet just means forgettable when no one's watching. I stood up. Walked to my desk. Opened my laptop, typed in the school portal. Found the submission form for the graduation speaker. They had already announced the 2 finalists, both loud. Both safe, but at the bottom, open slot available for anonymous submission. I didn't blink. Didn't breathe, just clicked, submit new. Opened a blank document. I didn't write my name, just the words, to the ones who sat silent. To the ones who clapped for others but cried alone. To the invisible daughters. I didn't write it like a speech. I wrote it like a confession. Like a match. Like a scream I'd never been allowed to release. Each word burned. But not in pain. In clarity. Halfway through, I stopped. Not because I was tired, because I heard it again, laughter. Downstairs. I walked over to the vent. Kneeled, listened. Dad's voice, she's just so fearless. Mom chimed in, she was always the star. Then someone asked, what about Eliza? What's she up to? A pause, then laughter, not cruel. Not harsh, just dismissive, like I was a side note. An afterthought. A shadow. I stood up, walked back to my laptop, and finished the last line, let them hear my voice before they recognize it. Then I hit submit. Closed the tab. Closed the door, opened the window, let the night air in like it was mine again. This time, I wouldn't wait for permission. This time, they'd hear me, ready or not. The more I practiced, the steadier my hands shook. The first time I read it out loud, my voice cracked before the third sentence. My hands were shaking, not softly, not nervously. Full-on tremors. Like my body didn't know if it was fear, or fury, maybe both. I stood in front of the mirror. Back straight. Paper trembling, room silent except for the ceiling fan ticking like a metronome. Like a countdown. I stared at myself. Then down at the words, and began again, to the invisible ones. That's how it started. Simple. Honest, every word felt like peeling off a layer. Something raw underneath. Something truer than I'd ever said out loud. I reached the part about the dinner table. The one where Sarah's name got passed around. Like salt. And mine stayed stuck in the silence. I almost stopped. But I didn't. Second read through, I didn't cry. Third time, I looked straight into the mirror. No blinking. No apologies. I wanted it memorized. Not for the stage, for survival, because I knew the second it was heard, they'd try to spin it, call it dramatic. Ungrateful. Fake, but this time, I'd be ready. The next afternoon, Miss Keating asked to hear it. I thought I'd say no, but something in her voice, gentle but firm like she believed I had something worth saying. I nodded. We sat in her office. Just us, window open. Light cutting through the blinds like little slashes across the floor. I stood, paper in hand. breath in chest, and I read. Her eyes stayed on me the whole time. No blinking. No notes, just listening. When I finished, I looked down. Couldn't meet her gaze, then I heard it, not clapping. Not praise. A sniff. I looked up, she was wiping her eyes. You've already won, she whispered. Even if they never admit it. Then she stood, hugged me. And no advice. No edits, just that. I left lighter. But heavier too, like the words were carrying me forward but also anchoring me to every moment they were born from. Later that night, I snuck into the garage. It was the only place no one would hear me. Dad was watching a documentary in his study. Mom baking cookies for Sarah's volunteer brunch. And Sarah, who knows? Probably writing her next spotlight article. The garage was cold. Dusty, but quiet. I cleared a space between the old bike and the broken bookshelf. Stood under the single flickering bulb and rehearsed again, line by line. Beat by beat, the more I practiced, the steadier my hands shook. Yes, shook, because I wasn't shaking in weakness anymore. It was fire. Building, like a violin string stretched too tight. Then I heard it. A footstep, behind me, the garage door creaked. Opened. I turned, and there she was, Sarah. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, still in her tennis skirt. Lip gloss perfect, expression unreadable. How long have you been listening? I asked, voice calm. Too calm. She stepped forward, long enough, she said, looked at the paper in my hand. Then at me. So this is your plan? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Make yourself the victim? Get a little sympathy. Applause. I didn't answer. Didn't flinch, just folded the paper once. Twice. Her eyes narrowed. You always do this, she hissed, her voice louder now. Sharper. You act like I took something from you. Like you're the forgotten genius and I'm just, what? A fraud. Still, I said nothing, not because I was scared, because for once she was. I could see it. And the twitch of her mouth. The way her arms folded tighter. Like armor. She wasn't used to my silence having weight, but tonight, it did. She scoffed, you're pathetic. Turned to leave, paused at the door. You want to humiliate Mom and Dad in front of the whole school, she said. A beat, go ahead. Let them see what a bitter little ghost you'd become. Then she was gone. I stood there alone, the bulb flickered. Above me. My hand still gripping the speech, not shaking now, not even a little. The next time she'd hear it, would be in front of everyone. They bought it 2 sizes too small. Like always. It was on my bed, laid out like an offering. Or a warning. A white dress. Laced. Pressed. Brand new. I didn't ask for it. Didn't want it, but my mother still smiled like she'd done something precious. Try it on, she said. I looked at her. At the way she folded her hands. At the way she wouldn't meet my eyes. That was her tell. That quiet twitch of guilt disguised as grace. I picked it up. Felt the fabric between my fingers. It was beautiful. Of course it was. So was she. So was everything that ever touched Sarah's skin. The tag was still on. Size 2. I hadn't been a size 2 since freshman year. And she knew it. Because she bought it for my sister last summer. The one Sarah didn't like. Too simple. Too plain. Now it was mine. I didn't say anything. Just carried it to the bathroom, closed the door, and tried. The zipper got stuck halfway up my back. I yanked. Pulled. Breathed. It didn't budge. I looked at myself in the mirror. The fabric clung to my hips. Gaping at the chest. Tight at the ribs. Wrong everywhere. It wasn't just about size. It was about space. There was never room for me. She knocked. Does it fit? I almost laughed, but I didn't. I opened the door. She blinked. Saw the dress clinging like a whisper that didn't belong. Her lips parted. Like she might apologize. Instead she said, we can pin it. And that was it. No shame. No explanation. Just pins. Always pins. Always temporary fixes for things they wouldn't take the time to understand. I went back to my room. Closed the door, slid the dress off. Left it crumpled on the floor, and walked to my closet. The black one was still there. Simple. Sharp. Strong. I zipped it up. No struggle. It fit, not because it was perfect, because I chose it. Downstairs, they were waiting. Photos in hand. Sarah fixing her lip gloss in the mirror. Of course she was already ready. I walked down slow. Let my heels echo on the steps. Dad turned. First, then Mom, then silence. You're not wearing the dress? His voice wasn't angry. Just disappointed. Even worse. I shrugged. It didn't fit. He looked at my mom. Then at me. Well, next time speak up sooner. We don't want you looking out of place. There it was. The real sentence hidden inside the polite one. Be smaller. Be prettier. Be the daughter we show off. Not the one who fits in the shadows. I smiled. Sharp. Quiet. I won't be out of place. Not today. We took photos in the living room. They posed her by the fireplace. Under the big family portrait, the one where my face is half covered by glare. I've seen that glare 100 times. How it always finds me. I walked to the bookshelf while they laughed, fingered the frames, every photo. Sarah with her trophies. Sarah in her recital dress. Sarah next to dad in a blazer 2 sizes too big, then a small one. Buried behind a candle. It was me age 10. Holding a plastic medal. Eyes glowing, someone had drawn hearts on the frame in pink pen. I smiled softly. That was the last year I ever put something on the shelf myself. I turned, dad was fixing his tie. He looked at me, not warmly. Not harshly, just calculated, then he said it, don't embarrass the family today. I nodded, still smiling, don't worry. I touched the speech folded in my coat pocket. Felt its edges press into my palm like a blade. I'm not going to embarrass the family, I said, I'm going to represent it. He blinked. Didn't get it. Sarah looked up. Mouth twitching, she did. The car horn honked outside. Let's go, Mom called, and we did. I wasn't going to embarrass the family. I was going to unmask it. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the gathering of it. My name echoed before I was ready for it, Eliza Ward. Applause. But not loud. Not for me, just polite, mandatory. I stood, chin up. Palms damp, the paper in my hand shook like a living thing. But inside, still, too still, the gym was packed. Folding chairs scraping linoleum. Parents craning necks. Phones aimed, some smiling. Some yawning, and in the middle row, my family, dad in his best tie. Mom with her arms around Sarah like she won something too. Which, of course, she did. As I stepped onto the stage, I heard someone whisper, she's the other one, right? My heels clicked across the wood. 3 steps to the mic, 2 breaths. 1 chance. I looked up and spoke, thank you for this honor. My voice was soft. Steady. Too steady. I paused. Let the quiet press against my ribs. I was told I should keep this short. Keep it sweet. I smiled. A sharp one, but short and sweet is how people miss the truth. A few heads tilted. Not many. I continued, I want to thank the teachers who saw me. Even when my name wasn't in the paper. Eyes flicked. Whispers started, good, I want to thank Ms. Keating for slipping me the file. The one that proved I had college offers my parents never mentioned. Gasps. Real ones. My mother's hands dropped from Sarah's shoulder. My father sat up straighter. Stone-faced, Sarah? Already blinking too fast, I wasn't surprised. My voice was louder now, but it still hurt. More silence. No one coughed. No one blinked, only me. I was always the quiet one. The easy one. The sweet one. That word tasted bitter now. They said she had ambition. I had manners. I turned my head. Met Sarah's eyes. She looked away first, but silence isn't weakness. It's pressure. Building. Pause. They thought I wasn't keeping score. Now I opened the paper. Unfolded it like a blade. Read it. Slow. This is for the ones left. Out of the photos. The ones who got the empty envelopes. The ones told to shrink so someone else could shine. Somewhere in the back row, someone gasped out, a teacher, maybe the one who asked, are you sure you don't want to be in this photo? I stayed silent so long. I forgot what power felt like. I looked down at my hands still, then back at them, but today? I'm taking it back. Clap, just one. Ms. Keating. Front row, tears down her face, then another. A student. Then a third, then it caught, like fire. Like thunder breaking loose. Everyone stood. Except 3. My parents. My sister, frozen, like statues too ashamed to melt. Sarah stood. But not to clap, she walked out. Straight down the center aisle, head high. Jaw clenched, but I saw her hands, shaking. I finished, thank you. No bow. No smile, just walked off. The applause didn't stop. Not even when I left the stage, not even when I walked past my parents, still sitting. Still stuck. I didn't need their claps. I had my own echo now. Their faces didn't pale. They cracked. Some silences aren't awkward. Their accountability. The house was too quiet, not peaceful, just still, like the kind of silence that comes after something breaks, not before. I walked in first. No one opened the door for me. No one said anything. The only sound was the tick of the hallway clock, louder than it ever sounded before. My heels touched the tile. I didn't take them off. Didn't want to let them echo, let them remind them I was still here. Mom sat at the table. She was still in her cream dress. Still had on the pearls, but her mascara had run halfway down her cheek. She didn't look up, not once. Dad stood near the doorway, hand still resting on his keys. He hadn't moved, not since we got home, like if he stood still enough, maybe the world would rewind. No one said anything. So I did, I told the truth. My voice wasn't raised. Didn't shake. I wasn't asking for permission. Wasn't apologizing either. Mom sniffed, quietly. Like she didn't want me to hear it, but I did. She always cried just enough to get sympathy, never enough to actually change. Then Dad spoke, but not to me, just to the room. To the air, you didn't have to do that. I looked at him, sharp. Still, you didn't have to do any of this. He blinked, but said nothing back, not one word. The silence cracked like glass underwater. Long deep, you don't have to scream to start an earthquake. You just stop pretending. I walked past him. Into the kitchen, opened the cabinet, pulled out a mug, the one with the chip on the handle. The one Sarah never used. I poured the coffee cold. Didn't care. I held the mug anyway. Tight, just to feel something solid in my hands. I didn't eat. Didn't sit with them. Didn't ask if they were okay, they weren't, but I was. Later that night, I opened my phone. 46 messages, most from people I hadn't talked to in months. Some I never talked to at all. Point 1 read, I didn't know anyone else felt like that. Another, I wish I said something when they cut you from the team photo. Then this one. From Ms. Keating, you didn't just graduate. You arrived. I stopped breathing for a second, just let the words stay on the screen, not to analyze. Not to dissect, just to feel them. Then the door creaked. Mom again. She didn't come in, just hovered. Framed in the hallway light, her voice was cracked glass. I didn't know, it hurt you like that. I looked up. Didn't cry. Didn't scream, just said, you never asked. She stood there a second. Then nodded. Once, her eyes glistened, and for the first time ever, she left me alone. I turned off my phone, not because I was done, but because I wasn't hiding anymore. The letters came the next morning, actual ones, not emails. Not DMs, ink. Paper. Handwritten, from teachers. Other students. Even strangers. Point 1 envelope had no return address. Just my name. Inside was a card. Simple. Front said, fire doesn't destroy everything. Sometimes, it clears the way. No signature, but I knew who sent it. Keating. Always giving me what they didn't. I pinned it to the mirror. Right over the spot where Sarah's old recital photo used to hang. That mirror finally reflected me. They stayed quiet for days, which was fine, because some silences aren't awkward. Their accountability. And now? Now people were watching, not because I begged them to, but because I made them look. But what comes after truth? Something even louder. Sometimes you become your own parent. I didn't pack much. Point 1 suitcase. No framed photos. No childhood trophies. No apologies, just clothes. My laptop. And a letter I hadn't written yet. The house was asleep. Or maybe just pretending, the kind of silence that's thick. Performative. Like grief at a funeral. You didn't cry at. I sat at my old desk. The wood still had that scratch from second grade, where Sarah slammed her nail file down. Said I was so dramatic. I remember saying nothing. I remember swallowing the drama. Now I clicked my pen, and started the letter. Dear you, you're not invisible. I know they made you feel like air, quiet, unnoticed, always moving around other people's needs, but you are not air, you are thunder held in a jar. I paused. Breathed. Checked the door, still closed. Good. You're not overreacting. It did happen. The way they looked through you. The way they called you, the easy one, like that was a reward. The silence was loud, you just learned to listen differently. I rubbed my wrist, the ink smudged under my thumb. It felt real. Messy. Mine, you were never the background, you were the whole frame, they just cropped you out. There it was. That ache, the one I'd buried for years. It didn't burn anymore. It hummed. Like a warning. Like a song I wrote myself. I forgive you. For thinking love had to be earned, for thinking silence was strength, for waiting for them to choose you. You don't have to wait anymore. My hand was trembling now, the words poured fast. Like water. Like release, you can leave now, not because you're running, because you're ready. Love doesn't whisper. And you don't belong in houses that mute you. The pen dropped. I folded the letter. Twice, crisp edges, sharp, like everything I wasn't allowed to be. Then I stood, walked to the mirror, the same one I used to write notes on with dry erase marker. Little affirmations, but none of them were this honest. I pressed the letter against the corner, taped it, not for them. For me, for her, the girl who used to stare into that mirror and ask, why not me? The suitcase rolled behind me. Soft wheels. Heavy silence. I passed the kitchen. Dad's coffee mug still on the counter, untouched. Cold. I didn't take the back door. I took the front. As I stepped onto the porch, the air hit different, lighter, like the oxygen finally knew who it was carrying. A car waited at the curb. Ms. Keating's. She didn't get out. Didn't need to, she just nodded once through the windshield, like a baton pass, like a blessing. I looked back. Just once, not for drama, for closure. The curtains twitched. Sarah, maybe. Or maybe it was just the wind. Didn't matter, because this letter, it wasn't for them. It was for the girl I used to be. And the woman I was finally letting out. I didn't leave to disappear. I left to begin. The dress didn't match the day. But it matched the moment. The photo made it to 5 different accounts before I even saw it. A black dress. Podium. Tear in my eye. Caption, the speech that silenced a town. I didn't know someone had taken it. Didn't pose. Didn't smile. Wasn't meant to be beautiful, but somehow, it was. Mom texted first. Just the photo. No words, then a follow-up. Why that dress? That dress, she meant the black one. The one I wore when everyone else wore pastels and pearls. The one she told me to save for a funeral, but that's exactly what it was. A burial. Of silence. Of pretending. Of me being small, they expected white. I wore truth. The night before the photo was taken, I barely slept, not because I was nervous, but because I was clear. Sharp. Like the edges of every word I wrote. I wasn't speaking to impress. I was speaking to release. Now it was everywhere. Retweets. Shares. Reels with piano music underneath my voice, people calling it brave. Calling it raw. I didn't feel brave. I felt seen for once. The spotlight wasn't burning me. It was holding me. The invite came 2 days later. A youth panel, voice and visibility, girls who rise. They wanted me, not Sarah. Not because of my grades. Not for a medal. Just me. I stared at the email. Reread the subject line 5 times. It wasn't a dream. It was an answer. To a question I didn't know I'd asked. The event was held in the city hotel ballroom. Chandeliers shaped like falling stars. Chairs lined up like little open hearts. I wore the same black dress. Let them know it wasn't a one-time thing. Backstage, I ran my fingers along the seam, not to check for flaws. To remind myself I'd survived in it once. I could do it again. The room buzzed with energy. Girls in suits. Girls in braids. Girls with trembling hands and powerful eyes. We weren't nervous. We were ready. They called my name, and I walked out. No music. Just feet. Heels clicking like punctuation. I sat on the panel. 5th seat from the left. My palms were damp. But I smiled, because for the first time, my name wasn't a footnote. The moderator asked, "What made you speak up that day?" Everyone turned to me. I took a breath, then another, then said, "Because silence stopped feeling like safety." The room held its breath. So did I. Then someone clapped, then more, then all. Afterward, a girl waited near the stage. Maybe 15. Hair in a bun too tight. Hands in fists. She didn't speak right away, just looked at me, then whispered, "You said what I've never been able to." I froze, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew exactly how she felt, like someone cracked open your chest and finally named the ache. I handed her my name card. She didn't even glance at it, she just held it, like it meant more than ink. She asked, "Did it fix anything?" I looked at her. Soft. Sharp. "No," I said. "But it freed everything." Later that night, I checked my messages. Sarah had posted the photo too. No caption. Just a black heart emoji, small. But something. Ms. Keating sent a voice memo. I listened with one earbud. She said, "Legacy doesn't start with applause. It starts with interruption. You interrupted them. Keep going." I lay on my hotel bed. Lights off. Heart full. I wasn't trending. I was transforming, and when I looked at the viral photo one more time, I didn't see the tear. I saw the girl behind the mic, not the dress. Not the image. The voice, the one they spent years ignoring, the one they now couldn't look away from. I wasn't the girl in the photo. I was the one behind the mic. Sometimes you don't break cycles. You outgrow them. The walls were blank, white. Unapologetic. Unwritten. I stood in the doorway of my dorm room with my box pressed to my chest. It didn't weigh much, but it felt like carrying the version of me I finally chose to keep. My new roommate hadn't arrived yet. Or maybe she had and left. Either way, the silence wasn't heavy. It was clean, like breath after a scream. First thing I unpacked? The photo, not of family. Not of friends. Not even from graduation, just one. The one of me holding the medal. The one I asked someone to take. Where my smile wasn't for them. It was for me. I pinned it to the wall by the bed. Frame, just a thumbtack right into the plaster. Like I was saying, this is my name now. This is where I begin. Second thing I unpacked, the email. Okay, I didn't pack it. But I'd left it unread all morning, scared. Maybe. Or maybe I just wanted the right silence to open it. I sat cross-legged on the twin bed, typed in my password, inbox. Subject line, "Congratulations, National Voices Journal." My hands froze, not from fear. From proof that the voice they tried to shrink now had reached. I clicked it open. "Eliza, we are honored to feature your story in our upcoming print issue. The raw truth of your narrative, and the precision of your language, made it an undeniable choice." I stopped reading after that, because my eyes were wet, and my chest was full, but not with sadness, with something I hadn't known I'd been missing, belonging. I looked up at the wall again, the photo blurred through tears, for a second. It almost didn't look like me, but then it did. Not the girl they forgot, the woman who remembered herself. My phone buzzed. A number I knew. Dad. I let it ring. No voicemail. No second try. I waited. Nothing. I stood and walked to the mirror above the dresser. No affirmations, just my reflection, and that was enough. I whispered to it, not for drama, for closure. "You don't know them, you're healing." My roommate walked in just then, suitcase rolling behind her. She froze when she saw me. "Hi," she said. Kind of nervous. Kind. I smiled. "Eliza," I said, then pointed at the photo on the wall. "That's me," I added. She nodded. "I can tell." We didn't talk much after that. She started unpacking. I sat back down, checked my phone one last time, still no messages. No missed calls. No guilt-tripped voice notes. No sudden apologies, and for the first time, I wasn't disappointed, because I had stopped waiting, stopped hoping they'd show up to the version of me they never saw coming. I didn't need their call. I had the one I answered myself, the one that sounded like paper being accepted, like my own name in print, like silence breaking in all the right places. And still, they haven't called. But I'm not waiting. We don't stay invisible. We choose when we appear. I didn't think I'd write one more letter, not after the speech. Not after the article. Not after the silence that followed, but here I am. Point one last time, this one's not for them. It's for you. You, with the quiet ache. You, with the heavy chest at family dinners. You, with the perfect grades and no recognition. You, with the unopened envelopes and the too tight smiles. You, who've learned to disappear without ever leaving the room. I know that trick. I mastered it. Tonight, I sat down thinking I was done telling my story. That I'd said enough, but stories don't end when people clap. They end when they land somewhere, and maybe this one is supposed to land with you. So let me start the way I should have started all along. Hi. My name is Eliza. I'm 18. And this is what I did when they tried to erase me. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I watched. I collected the moments they thought I'd forget, the photo albums I wasn't in. The letters I never saw. The scholarships they redirected. The way my name was always second, when it was even mentioned at all. But you already know that pain. That's why you're still here reading, holding your breath between every line like it might finally let you exhale. So here it is, the thing nobody ever told us: you don't have to be chosen to matter. I stopped waiting. Stopped hoping someone would clap. Stopped trying to make my voice palatable. Instead, I made it undeniable. That voice? It started in a notebook, then a speech, then a page in a national magazine. Now it's this letter, and maybe, just maybe, it will live in you next. Because I've learned something: being invisible isn't a curse. It's a cocoon. It's the space before the breaking. The hush before the arrival, and when you're ready, you don't ask to be seen, you appear. To the girl reading this who got skipped at the birthday toast, I see you. To the boy who memorized every test answer just to hear nothing at the dinner table. You deserve noise. To the middle child who made no mistakes and got no attention, that stillness wasn't your fault. To the easy one, the quiet one, the one who never caused trouble, you were never easy. You were just surviving. And to the version of me still curled up inside someone else's chest, you were always enough. You were just born in a house that couldn't hold the weight of your brilliance. I don't hate them anymore, not even her. She's living her life. Still loud. Still adored, but now I'm not watching from the sidelines. I'm building something she can't enter. They gave her the spotlight. I built my own stage, and guess what? You can too. So here's what I leave you with: not bitterness, but bravery, not rage, but reckoning, not closure, but continuation, because I'm not invisible anymore. I chose to appear. I chose to speak, and now, so can you. My name is Eliza. I'm 18, and this is what I did when they tried to erase me. Have you ever been the forgotten one? I see you now. Tell me your story.